I'm muted. What's up? Oh, whoa, let's turn down my mic a little bit there. What's up, everybody? What up, Bird? How's it going? Should I guess, light up the room a little bit? I don't have my stream light up. I think I'm fine, though. Perfect timing for this topic. Good. And there's a reason I'm doing it right in March. I should have probably done it like a month earlier, but this is kind of hot topic time, or the perfect time, I guess, where everyone's starting to talk about budget for next year. So hopefully it's perfect time for other people too. Why do my mic keeps like getting all the way up in the red? Keep capping out. I could probably turn down the music just a little bit more. So are you guys working with the school to ask for some money? And follow-up question, are you going to be at the Peach Belt Championships this weekend? I don't even know how far Kennesaw is to Lander. It's probably a haul. Oh, it's 4 hours. Filling out those SABAC forms. What's that? Let my cat out. Sadly, no, you will not. That's just the league team in Norman. Boo. Boo. That is sad. I'm assuming SABAC forms are like student organization form where you ask for a budget. Student Activities Budget Advisory Committee, according to Google. SABAC forms, the first thing that pops up is Kennesaw. That's fascinating. Student Activities Budget Advisory Committee. Yeah, there you go. Basically, yes. Good. I'm going to go ahead and retweet my original tweet and just say we're live. Make sure everyone's getting in here. Is that basically like all the student orgs kind of submit budget requests for from a pot of money that's supposed to like help student engagement or like go to student orgs? It's basically like the student senate has a bunch of money they get to dole out. I'm assuming it's similar to that. I know when I went to Truman, that's what we had, is like student senate had money to give student orgs, and the student orgs every year had to ask for it. You heard about money? Click the link. Well, hello and welcome to the Money Show. Today and this week is all about that cash money. Cash money. Glad you clicked that link. Good to have you. Yeah, there you go. Them money bags. A lot of this topic isn't going to be, or this show isn't going to be a lot about how to raise money or ask for money specifically. It's more going to be around how much and what to do with that amount, I guess. More like what to do with that amount. It's creating a budget is really what it's going to be about. Yeah, we fill it out for things like prizes. We want it for tournaments, future tournament entrance, and travel and such. Nice. Infinite amount of money. Yes. We all have infinite amounts of money. We'll give it a couple more minutes before we really dive into this topic. I want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity to get in here. And then obviously what I'll do is I'll have this uploaded to my YouTube. I've been uploading the full episodes of everything, but I know no one wants to watch those. I need to go back and edit my full episodes down into segments. Those get a lot more traction. I just have not put in the effort there, but I will. I promise. At some point, I will. I'll have this topic on there as a budgets overview. I'll have last week's topic on how to calculate your revenue analysis from a tuition standpoint, all that good stuff. Yes, the supercut. Speaking of supercut, I need a haircut. It's getting a little out of control. I went to like a fancy barber and he gave me like too much to play with on the top. It's not really my style. And now it's getting like to too long where it gets crazy. I can't control this. It's gone rogue. It's gone rogue. I don't know if we'll have an episode next week because I will be in Myrtle Beach. I'll actually be touring event venues there. I am Uconnect. Hello, Uconnect. What's up? What's up? Oh, Dylan's out here just throwing me follows from various Twitter accounts. Yes? Uconnect is a bot. We learning today. We are learning today. We're learning today. Hell on pause. Have you constructed your budget for next fall yet? We'll start getting started here. First, my intro. Welcome, everybody, to the Collegiate Esports Talk Show. I'm Coach Antor, and today we're talking about budgets. All right, that'll be my intro when I eventually edit these to segments. So let's talk budgeting. I think you have not. Okay, sweet. You're perfect. You've come to the right place. You can learn 3 years of budgeting experience and then be just as clueless or be a little less clueless, but still very much clueless, like the rest of us. You should have a few segments like every show, one core lesson, one hot take, and one recent news. That's a really good idea. I've really struggled with creating a format for this show. And it's just been like, all right, 2 hours before showtime, what are we talking about this week? Let's check Twitter. And then that's how it's gone. But that's a really good idea. I wish I had like a producer. Maybe I need to like pay some producer to like make this show legit. Announce your job. Yeah, Moog. I've had a couple people in Discord servers like ask like, what the heck? Does anyone know Moog's new job? He's hinting at it so much and I'm on the edge of my seat. I think it's funny. I think it's awesome. I'm excited. I'm obviously excited to see the announcement. Wait, you have a new job? That's what you keep saying every tweet the last month. All right. I think Physics needs to announce what he's doing too. So I don't think you can call out Moog. Moog is getting a $2 pay raise. Oh, that's funny. I guess brief overview here on this topic. What this topic is going to be, the example we're going to use, it's much more focused on a small private school. I think the example budget that I'm going to pull up is $35,000, which for me from my experience is kind of a normal number. It might actually be on the higher end for most programs. But the lessons and the content of the budget should hopefully be valuable to everyone, no matter if your budget is $10,000 or $200,000. Obviously, things will scale. Your institution, your program will have different goals around different other things that you'll have to pay for. But hopefully you'll be able to walk away with this with at least a list of things that you have to remember when you're making your budget. I think that's really where I want to be. Moog says just this week. Really? It's felt like a whole month of you tweeting stuff. Taking the time to reflect and process as I cry at the amazingness. I am crying internally at the amazingness, Moog. You are not alone on that. I'm excited. All right, so let's kind of dive into this a little bit. I wish I had chat on for my... Actually, I wonder if I can keep chat on my screen. Let's change this. I'm just going to play around with this just for a real hot second. I'm trying to think. Okay, chat box stays. Okay, that's going to be really hard to see. Background color. Let's put in a background color. Does that work? No, that does not work. I want to... Okay, it says I need it to not be... I'm just trying to get this so it's not a clear background. I'm screwing this up. Boxed, maybe? Oh, okay, maybe this. Cool. Media specialist for Crunchyroll, so you can continue taking cosplay pics. That's dope. That would be dope. I'm just waiting here to see. Someone should message in chat so I can test this. I'm trying to get the chat box to stay in my... oh, it keeps resetting. The chat box to stay in my next... in my, like, screen share. And not being on a transparent background, because that'll be really annoying to read. Someone type in chat. Don't make me beg, please. We got a follow. Thank you for the follow, Uconnect. Appreciate that. You all are... Unless if my Streamlabs is broken, you all are in cahoots to not type in chat right now. You're tilting. Yes, thank you, Bird. I appreciate you. All right, it works. All right. We're going to switch over here. All right, let's take a look here at my sample budget. All right. Cool. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh, I screwed it up again. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Bird. I appreciate you. All right. My face is in the way. Let's see if I can change that. Let's move that over here. Let's move chat box up. Oh, no. Move chat box up. Beautiful. Oh, my gosh. It's like I planned this all. All right. So let's talk through some of these lines here. Hopefully you guys, if you're looking at working on a budget or just kind of need a reminder, what is this like loading thing? That's really annoying. Is that me loading? What is this loading? Is that my camera? I don't know what this loading thing is, but y'all gonna enjoy that. Is it my face cam? No, it's not my face cam. Browser source. Oh, it might be browser source. Oh, it's back. Okay, whatever. It's working. We're getting there. Hopefully this, like I said, if you guys are new to this budgeting thing, hopefully you can kind of see some of the things that I have listed on my budget, or this budget example, actually. This is mostly heavily based on my budget from Aquinas, fun fact, not my Florida Southern one. At Florida Southern, I report to the athletic director and the dean of students, so I have two separate budgets to do different things. So this is not super indicative of what that is, but it's much more focused on what Aquinas was. At Aquinas, in most institutions, you'll have a list of budget items or pots or account numbers or account pots of money, basically. Some of them being like sponsor income, contracted services, sports equipment, office supplies, all that fun stuff. This is basically in order of the account numbers, not in order of anything else. So that's why it might look a little funky. But hopefully this helps spark some thoughts and maybe points you in the right direction here. The first line here is sponsor income. It was actually part of my job to raise a certain amount of money to offset my budget. And in this instance, I put $4,000. We were actually working with like local high schools to actually rent out our lab. And we kind of got up to this point of about $3,000 was feasible to do. Charging entry to Super Smash tournaments. Most of the time, the Smash tournaments that we ran, the money we brought in, do weddings too. That's a good idea. Or bachelor parties, if your campus allows alcohol. I don't know. Not a bad idea, though. Someone would probably pay good money to rent out your lab for a bachelor party. But those Smash events, we hosted weeklies. And the money we raised, we actually just turned around and used it to have our Smash players get into tournaments. So it was just entry fees. But that was money I could budget as revenue, basically, to the program. And then sponsorship deals. We ended up selling just a mouse pad sponsorship, which covered the cost of our mouse pads that you'll see in line 4 plus 20%. That's usually a pretty good way to do sponsorships is if you're doing a cost or something, you do the cost plus 20% just in case if you need to order extra or something goes wrong. So that was that sponsorship. The sponsorship ended up being like $1,000 that first year. But that would be the $4,000, and it's negative because it counts against that total budget money amount. There's about $35,000 more than we get. Yeah. I think programs and clubs are going to be in very different places currently. I think for you, when you're asking for money as more of a student club, is you're going to want to go through this and find your priorities. So for you guys, you won't have to fly to the NACE convention or do recruiting stuff, which is on here. Buying jerseys and stuff. Usually clubs might like sell a jersey. They don't actually raise or pay for them. So a lot of this stuff is not going to be applicable to a club, but some of these might be good ideas. Like the team entry fees is obviously one you mentioned. Computer accessories or replacing broken equipment. If you have a lab, might be important to know. But yeah, I get asked a lot by new directors like, hey, can I look at your budget, or what do you have in your budget? What am I forgetting? And oftentimes I'll just share this budget example. And shout out to Ben Suntrup. He's the director of esports at Lindenwood in St. Louis. He took my ugly Excel sheet and made it pretty because he was bored, I guess, at his job, his full-time job. But I appreciate that. So that's why it looks kind of pretty. Are you... Uconnect's asking, are y'all working with any brands to outfit your arena? I am not currently. From a sponsor perspective, I'm not. At Aquinas, we worked with MSI. They gave us really competitive pricing, and they threw in free headsets, but there was no money changing hands. At most smaller institutions, you're going to struggle finding someone to help finding an endemic national brand to help. I think if you're a smaller private school, there might be local IT connections or computer connections that you could make. But yeah, discounts. Yeah, I mean, when we were outfitting our arena originally, we sent out we asked for 3 quotes, like for quotes from 3 different companies, and then compared pricing. I would say that like right off the bat for me, if I'm purchasing 20 PCs, I better get a freaking discount. I think one of the most frustrating things I did, or I went through building 2 labs, one at the high school level and then the college level, was the first one I worked with was iBuyPower, and they just did not offer any discounts for buying 16 PCs the first time at 24 the next. And for me, that was a pretty big turnoff. but MSI was really easy to work with. Gravity Gaming is another one in the space. But yeah, I think I didn't personally work with anyone. We are a Dell school, so we now actually go with Alienware starting next year. That's what we'll be doing. This is just direct costs. This budget specifically is operating budget. So this is not building an arena. This is specifically your yearly operating. I'll talk in other considerations. I think I have building projects, capital expenses. Oftentimes with a university, at least in my experience at smaller universities, a capital expense is something that's like building a room that's going to last more than a year or two, or with equipment that's going to last more than a year or two. And that comes with a different budget process. That's working with usually a CFO or the business office and your VP to come up with that budget for a capital expense. So this is only operating. Mayor's son, Andrew Ross from USF here. Hey, what's up? Florida folks unite. Yes, Jay Smith, this does not have salaries or scholarships. That's another one I think I put in other considerations. Scholarships. Oh, I didn't put it in here. And salaries. Those are both from what I've kind of gathered from like a state or a public university, are oftentimes, more often than not, in this budget would be salaries and potentially scholarships as well. From a private school perspective, oftentimes salaries would not be in this yearly budget. It would be in like the athletic department's budget or the student life budget. So it would be a separate budget line in a different budget. And same with scholarships. Scholarships are oftentimes maybe something that's budgeted, but oftentimes it's not a budgeted item. I don't even know how some private schools give out money like crazy. And I don't think it's usually a budgeted thing at least where I was at Aquinas. It wasn't something that I specifically was involved in budgeting per year because it was a discount rate instead of a dollar amount, if that makes sense. But yes, very good thing to keep in mind, especially for the state schools or the public schools in here, is that those things are not in this budget. Contracted services. This is where we put our game coaches, quote unquote. We actually called them analysts, but they were game coaches. This is an HR thing for the school I was at. When they saw coach originally, they thought part-time coach with benefits or something like that. And to avoid the concern, we named them analysts. So weird workaround. But that's been part of my budget now for the last 2 years. At both institutions was a budget for those game analysts. Oftentimes these would be knocked down to like an hourly rate and then how many hours per week they'd be working and how many weeks they'd be working. You could also split between the initial setup costs and recurring expenses. Definitely. Some of this stuff is a one-off spend or an expense every 4 years. Yes. I don't know if any of this stuff would be technically a 4-year thing. Mouse pads, we actually plan to replace them every year because we did a new sponsorship every year. And then like computer accessories and broken equipment. Computer accessories could be that 4-year thing. When I was working through building the lab initially, these would have been under the capital budget, but after that year of capital budget, it would have to be absorbed by the yearly operating. But it's a good, there's some questions there that each school is probably going to work through differently, and to work with your supervisor or the business office to kind of straighten out some of these things. The next one here, professional development. Some schools will allow you to have professional development. Some won't. Equipment expense is maintenance. Yes. And at the school I was at, most of the maintenance on the PCs at least was covered under the IT budget. So I didn't have to deal with it, but it would be something that you'd want to put in. On this one, I threw in $2,000, but I didn't go into details. At Aquinas, I did not have this because IT would cover PC maintenance. Every school is going to be different in that regard. Again, some IT departments are very hands-on from a budget and a working perspective or managing perspective. Others are very hands-off and for various reasons. So keep that in mind. Professional development. This online conferences one, I'm not quite sure where this is going to go. A couple of the conferences that are out there, I know like the Esports Trade Association does a conference. The College Esports Expo is happening right before PAX East. You've got like, there's one that happens with around recruitment that I'm blanking on. Obviously Uconnect does a conference, or a bunch of panels and stuff, but they're free, so you don't have to worry about that usually. Esports Clinic, this is the one that NACAD puts on every year. Highly recommend. Although 600 seems really high, I think it's like 150 to go. Oh man, you keep saying this wasn't in my budget, and yeah, ours basically has sources everything in your department budget. So IT handles things, but they charge the cost of the department. Yeah, so a budget can quickly ramp up if everything has to be within your operating budget. So like salaries, scholarships, equipment maintenance. Our NACE membership at Aquinas was actually paid for by the athletic department. Similar to how they would pay for the NCAA membership. They did not think it was right to charge the team out of their operating. Yeah, that's really important to keep in mind as well. Like I said, there's going to be some holes in this budget just because this is based off of my experience at Aquinas. And I have a list of some of those other considerations that I'll walk through. Stay plugged in a recruitment showcase. That's not the one I'm thinking of, but most of these online conferences are often free. I just like to have a little bit extra money there. Because more conferences keep popping up, and I hate seeing them and then not being able to pay for them or having to pay for it out of my own pocket. Because I think it really does value the school to develop you professionally. So, office supplies, I put dry erase supplies, pens. You know what you want or need. Sometimes your department will have dry erase stuff like around, so you won't have to budget for that, but I did. Mouse pads we put under office supplies because there wasn't really a better place to put it. Sports equipment was a line we had. I put game controllers. I did have an idea of buying all my controller players custom game controllers that were branded for our school. I thought that'd be really dope. At the very least, they would be the same color or just like the color of our school. So I put that in there. Sports equipment, that line is just pretty... it's a pretty broad line. It could even, like, your same stuff could go under a different line. Another important piece is that some of this stuff might not make sense where it is currently on my budget, but it would make sense somewhere else on yours. Clothing was a massive part of our budgeting. At a small NAIA school, retention is a massive piece of the puzzle. And in athletics, swag and clothing and apparel was a massive part of that equation of keeping students excited and interested in your school as well as marketing it. So we bought swag. We outfitted our players. I think at one point we budgeted $300 per competitor. Oftentimes this is the line item that my boss cut because it was easier to cut. I put jerseys, that'll run you like $40 a jersey usually. I put 2 sweatshirts, 2 sweatpants because we lived in Michigan, short sleeve shirt, long sleeve shirt, and then I bought everyone blue light glasses from Gamer Advantage. We had a partnership with them where they gave us a massive discount, almost at cost, at least the first year, and then a discount the second year. that I just thought was really awesome. It was a really cool thing we did. I love them. I still wear them every day. So just another idea. So that was like our biggest budget line item after coach stuff. Food catering. This was meals with coaches, meals with athletes or recruits. Whenever a recruit comes in town, I take them out to lunch. Once a semester, I would take my coaches out to dinner and just talk with them one-on-one, catch up, recap, whatever it is. Like I said, this recruit thing could go under recruitment. This meal with coaches could go somewhere else. But was that cap budget or operational? This is all operational. This is all, did they have to return anything? This is all operational budget. So this is my yearly operational budget. The capital budget for, we had a capital budget for the building of the lab the first year. I have that somewhere else if anyone wanted to look at it, but that capital budget disappeared. Well, both of these budgets, if you don't spend the money, disappear after the end of the year. But the capital budget disappeared completely after that year of building, and doesn't return until you're replacing the PCs 3 or 4 years after. So something to keep in mind there. Recruitment, I bought or was planning to buy trinkets to give away to high school students. This is like if you're going to visit a high school student, or if a high school team was coming to visit your school, you could give them some sweatshirts or some stickers or whatever. I always put some money in there as something that they can take away. Question, did you usually distribute that merch at the beginning of the year or separate it out? I always did it at the beginning of the year. It was basically, they came in, like the students would come in the fall. We would have our like boot camp orientation, like the first week of classes. And when they arrived to that orientation, there would be a stack of their stuff. So I would separate it out by like, okay, Christy is a size small. Here's a small sweatpants, sweatshirt, jersey, or her jersey, and I'd have that stack waiting for her when she came in. It's similar to how all the other athletic teams did it. They would always have their stuff at Aquinas, like they would have their soccer gear ready for them when they came in for the first practice or whatever, their first orientation. So I always thought it was a cool little kickoff to the year. We need to learn your thrifty way for tourney travel. Our group going to Evo's. Yeah. Lots of rental cars and driving. I would stuff 4 kids in one hotel room. If we were paying out of pocket. So we'd have obviously gender specific or whatever, but you'd have four guys in one room and 4 gals in another, etc. But lots of rental cars and driving. We never rented buses. We never rented like a charter bus or anything, and we never flew anywhere either. So I didn't have much of a budget for travel, unfortunately. Like I said, rental cars, fuel, Lyft, and Uber rides at like conferences when I went. Tolls, Frostbite was in Detroit. We just drive over there. My flight to the NACE convention every summer. Travel or hotel at the NACE convention. Esports clinic when I went. And then a LAN tournament, we'd go like one. This seems low, but middle of Illinois hotels are cheap. And then Frostbite, that's a Detroit hotel. Usually students are just excited to get out and travel, so they don't mind sharing rooms. Yeah, I agree. Where I'm at now, our athletic department kind of has standards with some of that. Like I sent them a list of students and by room or whatever, and now it's only 2 to a room. But if there's no like precedent or standard, and you're paying for it, we get pretty creative with some of that. Team meals. This was meals with the team, travel days, etc. We didn't travel a whole lot. 5 days. I tried to get my students to one LAN event each semester. That was always my goal, and some of those LAN events were only 45 minutes away. Western Michigan hosted a couple LANs we would drive down to, and that would count as one of those LANs that I'd try to get my students to. If you have a highly competitive team that's getting invited to massive national tournaments, you have some players going to EVO, that will quickly raise your budget requirement from a travel perspective. Our trip to St. Louis last summer was pretty pricey. We rented a SUV and packed that sucker, drove 7 hours. The hotel was covered by the tournament, so was food. So that was massive. And yeah, so it wasn't too bad if I remember correctly. It was just renting the car. But those can quickly escalate. I know like Boise just flew out to New York for ECAC, and that's gotta be expensive. So team entry fees, this is an important one for you all. I like to try to plan them before, because my boss always asks like, okay, you're asking for $2,000 for team entry fees, what tournaments? And I would always be like, I don't know, they're not announced yet. But I would base it off of the year before. I knew Frostbite costs, this is what it was last year, UCAC or UCEA leagues that we competed in that year. Rift Clash was a league tournament we did. This was a league tournament we did. Illinois LAN, Smash tournaments. Because oftentimes budget owners will require this much detail. This is really important. If you just show up with these numbers, your boss will probably stare at you like you have 10 heads and ask, you need to itemize this stuff. So that's what I spend a lot of time doing in this budget process. UT sets per diem around $85 a day, depending on the city. Yes, so some schools will have that, have a requirement, or like, this is how much money you get to spend per day on food and things of that sort. So that might be already standardized at your school. Smaller schools, oftentimes in my experience, it's not, or at least from an athletics department, it's not. Sometimes they'll have like this is how much lunch is going to be usually. This is how much you should plan on for dinner. It's usually like $20 for dinners, $10 for lunch, etc. If you're in student life and they don't know, like they're not experienced with traveling teams, you're going to be creating the wheel probably. So good luck. With those schools that aren't under, or those programs that aren't under athletics, I would encourage you guys to reach out to your athletic department to try to work through some of this stuff if you're having problems or you need some guidance. Because most of them probably already have this standardized to an extent of like how much it costs per day to feed a kid. Memberships. This will be your NACE memberships, ECAC memberships, other tournament or like league memberships, if you will, conference memberships. Obviously, none of that is required. That's kind of on you, your program, your school, etc., on what you do there. But and my last school, like I said, I think before, this wasn't under my budget. This was under athletics own budget, so I didn't have to handle this. NACE was just included. It didn't have to come out of my budget. It helped that we were an NAIA school. NACE is started by NAIA. It just made sense. So keep that in mind. Computer accessories and equipment. This is going to be anything that's broken. So if a mouse breaks or a monitor breaks in your lab, you're going to have to replace it. So plan for it. Headset breaking, any of that stuff. I think it's just good to plan for this, and just realize that a new monitor is usually like $200. Mice can be $30 to $50. Headsets could be $100. Keyboards can be about $100, depending on which ones you're looking at. But just be aware of this. And then if a PC goes out, that might be something you need to budget as well. Computer software. Games needed. I usually planned to purchase some copies of Overwatch because I'd have players come in who were console players and didn't own the PC version. I got away with purchasing that for my students. I know a lot of bigger schools or schools with IT departments that are heavily involved would be blowing a gasket at that. They're like, we own the software, blah, 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 whatever. You deal with you. Whatever you can do. Online subscriptions, we owned 2 Switches. I don't know if this is the cost of 1 Switch or 2 Switches, but we paid for Nintendo Online. We also paid for all the Smash character DLC. And then I put in Stay Plugged In premium subscription. Stay Plugged In is putting some really cool tools together. They just announced, I think they just released some of their new stuff. But if you're a school that's heavily based around enrollment, recruitment, or if you're a school that just wants to be competitive and find other means of recruitment, Stay Plugged In is something I'd recommend, and it's something I'm budgeting for. Those premium features they're adding are going to be under their premium level, which is $500 a year. So I put that under computer software for some reason. I mean, you could put that under the recruitment. It could be under a lot of different things. I'm not entirely sure why I put it under software. Software has been kind of my subscription service thing. I put, when we did Monster Cat for streaming, we put Monster Cat in here. We also ran a Minecraft server for our program just for fun. That was under here. The school actually paid for the Minecraft subscription, or the Realm subscription. If your director, or if you're going to get yourself Discord Nitro with the school or your program paying for it, you might want to think about that. I think Nitro can bring enough value to a program to have a director kind of get covered with that. In terms of like file stuff and boosting your program server, I think there's some value there. So that would be under there as well. Other considerations I wanted to put in, this comes out to $3,400. If you take out the raising price, the raising money, it brings it up to $38,000. And like I said, I know this for some programs is going to look like a massive amount of money. And to other programs is going to look like nothing. And I know there are probably some of those bigger programs that are like, why are you pushing your agenda of so little money that people should be asking for? I'm just trying to put out what I believe is kind of the average at this point. And maybe even a little higher than the average when we think about like all programs in the space. But I know that there are a lot of programs with significantly more money than this. A lot of programs with significantly less. And obviously if you have less or you have more, your budget's going to look different. You're going to have different priorities. Going to LANs might not be possible with your program. And you'll adjust that, but I wanted to include as much as I could. Other considerations I wanted to put in here, and this is where some of the bigger state schools could be. Thanks, Moog. I appreciate that. Some other things that your bigger state schools will probably have to deal with when we look at your budgeting, and just something to keep in mind for everybody, and some other things that you could want to add. Work study students, student workers, if this is something that comes out of your budget or you're talking about with your bosses, you might have to pull that out of your budget. I'm not sure. Keep that in mind. Summer camps, if you're planning to run a summer camp, which I am, if you aren't thinking about summer camps, you probably should be. I think there's a massive opportunity here, even if it's on a local level, to start hosting students on campus. And this could be a massive fundraiser for students or for your program. So start thinking about summer camps. It's scary to think about when you're a first year director or your first year at a school, but I think it's going to pay huge dividends getting started early. Physics asks, how do you feel about renting out lab spaces for students, high school students? I've thought about it before, but I also don't want to make it inaccessible at all. We were ready to do it at Aquinas. I think what's important to realize is that where I was at, the lab was sitting empty from 3 to 5 almost every day. Maybe there was one student in there, but besides that, there were 23 to 24 PCs wide open. And that's the time where high schools are practicing. So I saw a perfect opportunity to look at that. We also had a lot of high schools in the area who started teams, but couldn't convince their administration to buy or build their own lab. So we had an opportunity where we could just rent out the space, hourly rate over the course of a semester, save the high school a ton of money, raise quite a bit of money for our program. I'm all about it. There are some considerations. If your dorm internet is trash and your players rely on the lab and they're consistently playing from 3 to 5, there's a significant decision to be made there, I think. If your lab is open to all students and it's a space for students to gather recreationally after class or between classes, you're taking that opportunity away from those students if you're closing it down for a high school. So that's a significant, I guess, piece of that equation that you have to take into account. But overall, I'm all about it. I think it's a great opportunity. It also really helps with recruitment. We did it at Aquinas right before COVID for 4 or 5 months. We'd open up the lab once a week and host Fortnite tournaments with like 5 local high schools. And after that 5 months or so, we had 2 students enroll at Aquinas from those out of those students that came into the lab. And probably more in the future as they continue to graduate from high school. But huge opportunity there. But it's going to vary by school too. Jay Smith, this is relevant, particularly the nitty gritty. It's hard when personnel costs are the vast majority of it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. How's it going, Coach? Hey, Cabot. Thanks for stopping by. So then on the flip side, say students in the Florida Southern student body had to pay to use the facility, if not on a team. Is that still a good thing for you? No, not in my opinion. I think the amount of the amount of money you're actually going to earn from renting out your space to current students is so abysmal and not worth it. In turn, by allowing your students to use it for free, the benefits from a retention standpoint pay for itself, in my opinion. I don't have the research behind that, but if you're a school right now that's open completely, track how many students come in and use it. And then if they decide to charge, you can track those students and see what the change is. I really struggle with the idea of charging students to use a space. And I know a lot of bigger schools are looking at that as a possibility. And I don't see it. Like, I think the value of allowing the students to use the space for free is just awesome. And I think it's something that needs to be talked about. Not Evan. I'm the head coach of Overwatch at Western. We just started our varsity program. Really wish I could see what our budget looked like. There you go. Well, welcome in, Coach. Western Michigan, I don't know much about your guys' budget. You guys are under Rec Sports. Andre is the director. He oversees Rec Sports or IMs or something along those lines. So your budget's probably pretty funky, and honestly probably small, but that would be interesting. We're in agreement on that front. Good. I'm glad we're in agreement there. Jay Smith says, by proxy, you could approach the student body to add a new student fee through student government. Yeah, that's an opportunity. I know that there are other things that have fees that are kind of tied back to something on campus, like a tech fee or something. I have heard of schools doing that. It is a possibility. I don't know how that works at a smaller school. And I don't know how you'd sell the idea. You also kind of got to realize, find out how much money you actually need and then divide that by how many students there are. It's an option. I'm currently running into an issue of gas getting covered for a trip we took to GVSU. That's frustrating. That's really frustrating. There's always weird little things that you have to do with the business office. And hopefully that gets figured out. Yeah. I would just say that hopefully the director or coach kind of budgets for this, plans for it, and then kind of says like, hey, this is covered, and then takes care of it. Gas is like the bare minimum. Yeah, it is. Gas is the bare minimum. I mean, hotel, food, other stuff is what you should be having to fight for, I guess, if anything. I mean, in my perspective is like, if I'm going on a work trip, everything should be paid for. I don't know. Marketing, Hummel from Bay State put this one on in a response to budgeting. I thought it was a good idea. If you're doing any marketing for your program, if you're doing any marketing for recruitment, something to think about. Oftentimes, this is covered by the marketing department at your school. I don't even think I was allowed to pay for marketing without going through the marketing department. But if you're like promoting your summer camp through an Instagram ad, maybe your school allows you to run an Instagram ad. There could be marketing there. Or buying like a banner or something. Yeah. JK subscribe. Thank you, JK, for the subscription. Appreciate you, Josh. I got the Minecraft Lego from Byte Speed. Thank you. I appreciate you, Josh. Thank you. Took 5 cars, like $100. Ugh. Got to buy that billboard. Yeah, there's a school in our area that's bought billboards across the state that just say like Esports, now. Lots of money. I know I'll put it together at some point. I don't know if I should keep it in the box like, ooh, fancy, or if I should like put it together and then showcase it. We'll see. Team activities. I think this is an important one. If you find team bonding to be a cool thing. For us, we had that Minecraft server, but sometimes like I've seen schools or teams do like axe throwing or bowling, something like that. Could be something to add to your budget. Put that baby together on stream. Oh, snap. Maybe I'll do that. Not today, but maybe I'll do that. Conference league fees. I did talk about this, but just FYI, not all conferences are free. Yes, CLOL is free, but ECAC costs money. I believe NECC costs money. NACE obviously costs money if you want to be in varsity. One-off tournaments sometimes cost money. Sometimes they're charity things that ask for money, like charity tournaments ask for a fee. Something to keep in mind there. Scholarships, like we talked about, some of the bigger state schools or some other programs might have to budget scholarships into their operating budget because they're not getting help from another department on campus. That's an important one to put down. And then salaries. Sometimes the director's salary is in that operating budget. Sometimes it's not. Coach salaries, if you've got part-time. I know like at the last school I was at, the head coach salary was under the athletic budget, but any assistant coach salaries would be under the esports program budget. So just something to keep in mind there as you're building those budgets up. Every school within an hour has bought up all the billboards near the UT campus. That's funny. Oh boy. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions or anything that I missed that you are paying for, or people need to consider? I think this basically covered most of the expenses that I had at Aquinas. Like I said, I have 2 budgets now at Florida Southern. One's the athletic department one that's focused on the varsity team, and then one's the student life budget basically. And in that budget, I have money set aside to like host on-campus events and tournaments. Whereas the athletic budget is mostly what this is on the screen here. Physics asks, what are some things that you think esports programs don't budget that you would like to see in the collegiate space? I think more budgeting for travel. Something not on the list, though. Ooh. Huh. I don't know. I'm sure people have ideas. Anyone in chat have any ideas that something that's not on this list that should be? That's a good question. I don't even know. I think if I had experience as like a traditional athletic coach at a big institution, like if I was a football coach at a D2 or a D1, I feel like I'd have a better understanding of what I should be paying for. Like at this point, I don't even know if I know. Like I think if a program is using like Canva for their graphics, like put the Canva premium subscription on there. Lab refresh purchases. Yeah, we did talk about a little bit about like capital budget and stuff, but Josh is a good one. Like any upgrades that you might think. Like right now in my budget, I have broadcast headsets and audio mixer on my budget. Oh, you're good. But yeah, those upgrades to your program, if you're trying to build a broadcast space, adding those on, I think are good. What else? I don't even know. Like I wish I know there's other stuff out there, but I think some of us are so new we don't even know. No more Canva. Startup World sets standard for best pitch deck platforms to use. Interesting. You could bundle it in with marketing, but I wish more people invested into content creation. Yeah, that's a good point. I think what I'll be looking at in the next couple of years, hopefully, is like vMix, and that costs money. I think moving towards vMix is a better option for students, like setting up students for jobs after college instead of using just Streamlabs. So much potential for people to root for you based on the personalities of players. I agree with that. You're probably right there, Connect. I usually use Illustrator or I use the Adobe Creative Suite, but I know Canva is a huge asset for a lot of programs that don't have a ton of design experience. And for me, I mean, I'm not good at designing. One of my teams and recruiting goals is content creation. There you go. Good. I think that's a huge opportunity. I'm actually purchasing racing simulator rigs next fall. I think iRacing is a massive opportunity for us. With the NASCAR League partnership, I think there's some positive sustainability there. But also the CEO of NASCAR went to Florida Southern. So we've got a little bit of a kind of a necessity to get involved in iRacing. Your school lets you use the branding in iRacing? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. We're a varsity team. We're under athletic department, so we can use all that good stuff. I know for the bigger schools who struggle with getting licensing or using their own like schools branding, that'll be a problem, but not for us. Yeah, Jay Smith, you guys got some good racers over there in Tennessee. And the school. I feel like every time I watch a collegiate iRacing race, there's a huge T on like everything. Like it seems like you got some good racers. Southern is D2. Yes, we are D2. Yep. Loving that D2 life. Gosh. I don't even know what else. Austin's a practical pro. Yeah, there's some crazy good players. I'm talking with some potential students, hopefully. We'll be in there in the fall, and we can leverage the OU brands at will. We'll see you in there next semester. Awesome! I'm working on asking for some more scholarship money for our iRacers, hopefully. You are behind on iRacing. We're all getting in it. There was 330 students, unique students signed up for the first iRacing race for NASCAR League. So it was pretty big. You don't know how iRacing is a thing? Most of the iRacing people I talk to like real life racing. Like they actually race in real life. So it'd be a different demographic than what we're normally used to. I've been talking with a couple other college teams to get some more info on it. And then we actually have a semi-pro Forza player on campus who is learning iRacing right now. And we bought a wheel and some pedals, but we'll buy the full rig next fall. At least one of them, probably two. We had them already. We also did an equipment demo night, and they came out of the woodwork. That's sweet. That's a good idea. What I loved was during COVID when iRacing was on ESPN and all the boomers thought they were really watching NASCAR. Yeah, that was super cool. The graphics are really awesome. The casters that like NASCAR League had, or NASCAR League and eNASCAR and iRacing are all working together on that circuit. And they've got some really good casters and a really good production. They have like headshots of the racers. Like, it looks legit. And I was sold the first time I watched a Collegiate iRacing thing, because I saw the St. Clair logo, I saw the Tennessee logo, and I'm like, dude, we need a Florida Southern logo on here. It is pretty expensive. For us, we will be most likely covering the cost of our players' iRacing membership, which can be like $150 a year as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, so iRacing, you pay a subscription to have your game, or have the game. And I think like full cost is like $10 to $12 a month, but there's like significant discounts right now, and you can get a discount for buying it in a year package, etc. Free to start, expensive to be good. Yeah. So right now we're budgeting like $2,500 per rig, but I mean, there's rigs out there that have like motion in them that cost like $70,000. Like, this it's like a massive. Like, you could get just a pedal and wheels like we did for $400, but then like the rig itself, like a metal rig with the chair and everything and a monitor, we're planning on like $2,500. But then there's that full motion, like you hit a bump and the whole seat goes up, and it's got all the motion. It's like a full pro racing simulator station, and they're like $70,000. So we're not budgeting the $70,000 at this point, unless if the CEO of NASCAR wants to cover it. We'll see. I want full ejecto seat. Oh, I don't want an ejecto seat. I just want a seat that stands up and lets me stand up with it, so I don't have to like use energy to get out of my chair. That I don't need full ejecto head through the ceiling seat. There's a difference. If you ain't first, you're last. Ejecto seat through the ceiling. There you go. All right. Yeah. So we're working on that. That's in my budget. I'd recommend to at least keep an eye on iRacing if you're a director. If you're at a big school, there's probably a racer on your campus, and you might as well just start supporting them now. Because iRacing's been around for a while, and I don't think it's going any away. And now NASCAR's getting involved. The 3 races they did, or they're doing this spring, have $50,000 in scholarship prizing. It's really cool. Yeah, definitely follow it. Follow that first season. I think it's really, really awesome. The first winner, the winner of the first race is a kid at a small D2 school in our athletic conference called Embry-Riddle. He ended up coming out of nowhere almost in the last couple laps, took the lead and won. I don't even know what the amount is for that first race, but Colton Salick. But there's like a path to it's like race to pro is what the like semi-pro scene is called, and then there's a pro scene for iRacing. It's pretty intense. Coca-Cola sponsors both of them. I better snag him. I looked, and he's like an aeronautical engineer major, and he actually also races on they have a legit motorsport team or club team that like actually races real cars at a raceway for their school, and he's on both of those. And I'm like, well, we don't have that major or a motorsport team, so I don't think, what in God's name are y'all doing in Florida? I don't know, man. Racing cars and shooting stuff into space. That's what we do down here in Florida. Yeah. You did your research? Yeah, Embry-Riddle, I think it's a pretty big school too. But yeah, that's where Colton Salick's from. I'm a big fan. Florida representing. One of the other top drivers goes to Rutgers. And I don't remember where the other ones are. But I know Tennessee's always up in that running. St. Clair has a decent racer. But yeah, it's so cool because players can design their cars, and you see the car has the big school logo right on it. It's so awesome. Like it's just awesome. Yeah. Midwest survival mode, that winter warmth just gives you more time. Dude, right now is the perfect weather to go outside. We get that, from what I've been told, the summer is when we just hunker down. It's too hot down here, supposedly. That's what they say. I'll see for myself. We'll see which one's worse, if it's Florida summer or St. Louis summer, because St. Louis summer is hot and wet. Wet heat. Well, they had wet heat in St. Louis, I'm telling you. It's already too hot. Dude, it's like 80 degrees out. Come on. This is gorgeous. Cabot's one of our Rocket League players. Find you a job out west. I hear Ottawa might be hiring. It gets you kind of towards there. It's snowing in Kansas tonight. That's awful. You lived half your life up north. I lived half my life most of my life in St. Louis and Missouri, or in Michigan. Michigan is cold. You get 2 good months of the year. Everything else, terrible. All right, I can smell dinner. My wife texted me and says it's almost ready. So I'm going to work on signing off here. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Thank you, Josh, for the sub. Huge shout out to Josh from Bytespeed. Hit him up if you need PCs and stuff. But I want to thank everybody for stopping by, inputting their knowledge, and not completely flaming me. I think that's a big win for today, and I'll take it with me. But thank you guys so much. End of work day entertainment. I'm glad you enjoyed it. If you guys have any ideas for topics later on, let me know. I might have to work on that, what Dylan said here, and kind of come up with a format for my show weekly. But until then, if you have an idea, or if you want to come on and chat with me, let's do it. But until next time, like I said, have a good week. Thank you so much. Include Twitch sub for Coach Antor in your annual budget. Yeah, include that. No, I don't need your school's money. No, save it for someone else. Give it to a student. But thank you guys again so much. Have a good rest of the week. I'll talk to you later. Peace.